Do you think arrogance is important to become the GOAT?
Oh yeah, I think a level of self-delusion is very important. Some people are driven by a lot of self-criticism, which is great because it causes you to pay a lot of attention. You need to really, really scrutinize, why am I speaking in that way? Why do I keep on using the word like as my filler words when I do a podcast? Or how come I interrupt a guest? Or I feel uncomfortable with silence, or I keep on offering up options when I ask a question, and I need to stop doing that. The level of scrutiny that you need to pay to your own performance. Michael Phelps obsessing over every inch of his stride and how he jumps off of the board, etc., etc. A lot of that comes from deep self-judgment and self-criticism. So it's good. But on the other side of that, you need to believe that you can do something that's never been done before. And the only way that you can do that is to kind of have a type of delusion where you go, this has never been done, or the incumbent champion is better than me and more highly regarded than me, and I'm going to beat them, but I haven't yet beaten them. That's nothing, that is at best confidence, but realistically delusion, right? Well-informed delusion. I think one of the best things that people can be is cultivated delusion would be a good way, because one of the problems that you have of overthinking too much is that you'll usually think your way out of things more than you think your way into things. It causes you to hesitate. It causes you to be a little bit more realistic. You don't want to be realistic. If you want 27-year-old, 28-year-old Chris to sit in front of you, I wasn't realistic about anything that I did. I wasn't realistic about trying to move to America and talk to people on the internet as a job. I wasn't realistic about trying to do these live tours as someone who's never done live before and see if I can sell out the largest venue, the largest theater in London, which was the Apollo. And we did that last year and we'll do it again this year, 3,500 people. That none of these things are realistic, but it's not blind confidence. It is a type of arrogance, I think, but it's also a degree of delusion. And I think strategic ignorance is probably another good thing that you can do, right? Strategic ignorance of not actually having to overthink it that much, just letting your foot off the gas. A good place to start.
You said 3 words. Explain each of them very nicely. You said cultivated delusion, right? Explain. What is, because
the difference between straight up delusion and cultivated delusion would be you need to know where you can believe beyond your capacity. So it needs to be done in a manner that's conscious. Straight delusion causes you to become a crazy person, which you don't want, you know? So cultivating your delusion in this area, I'm going to allow my dreams to become boundless, but not around my health or my sleep or my partnership or whatever, right? Not around my finances. There's a few areas that we can guarantee you should not be delusional around, and your finances are one of them, right? Right? That's a bad idea, right? You become bankrupt, it's going over, right? It's a very, very bad idea. But in the ability of you to impact other people's lives, to grow very quickly, like these are things that are
good delusion.
Yeah. Cultivated.
Okay, so that's delusion, because I also believe I'm dreamy and delusional, and I believe everyone should have irrational optimism in at least one field in their life. Not
That's
like
cool.
every field, and one field.
Well, that's the problem. You know, you have irrational optimism everywhere, and you're jumping off cliffs trying to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who have tried that.
Yep.
So that's one. Second term was strategic arrogance.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Very similar, but that you don't want to be arrogant everywhere. You need to be a good operator behind the scenes. You know, let's take a sports star or a musician, right? You need to deal with the venues that you work with and the roadies that are supporting you, or the referees at your game. You don't want to be, are you going to be arrogant with the people who are there to kind of make the thing that you do happen? No, that's a bad idea, right? You're a poor operator if you do that. But your arrogance with, I am better than these people. I am better than the estimations that everybody around me has, the limitations that I place on myself. You're basically overclocking your confidence. would be a way to think about it, right? I'm just tuning up my confidence a little bit more than it is so that I push my limits further, so that I believe that I can do more than I can.
At what point do you think people who are trying to do something, they start believing in it, and then they actually become like almost delusional about it and they get arrogant about it? Like, what's that point? Because I'll quote a specific thing. When I was speaking to Michael said, there was a point which is like it's fit in right here, right? He said, I was asking him, were you not worried that the other guy will beat you? Right? And he said, I was more prepared to beat a shark in water, forget humans. I was the most prepared person or living being on planet Earth.
Yep.
I knew it, like in that race format.
No one can touch me.
Maybe in the ocean people can, but that,
yep.
I was more prepared to beat a shark. And I was like,
yeah, that's cool.
What is that point where you become that, like, you're so delusional and arrogant?
I don't think that's arrogance, dude. I mean, obviously he's being hyperbolic, right? Talking about a shark. You put a shark in the water with Michael Phelps and only one of those animals is going to come out. But
I bet Michael will come out.
Yeah, that's right. He's fucking got it in a headlock. After a while, dude, you really do feel that you're untouchable. And, you know, like Floyd Mayweather, and you look at that guy, especially toward the mid end of his career, he was just unstoppable, like absolutely unstoppable. It's a combination of high ambition and high proof. You combine those two things and you're overclocking that confidence, right? And you're adding in more fuel. Each success furthers your ability to say, I'm going to keep going, keep doing, keep going.
Who do you think out of all your guests or out of everyone who you have spoken to, who do you think is closest to this mindset?
Well, that's a good question. Ross Edgley has a very interesting mindset. He's the first man to swim around the UK. So he basically swam 6 hours on, 6 hours off. So slept biphasically for most of a year and swam around the UK. He's the first person to have ever, I think the only person to have ever done it. And he has such a fascinating mindset because he's not doing it from a place of pain. He's doing it from a place of suffering strategically managed. That's how he refers to it. Suffering strategically managed. He knows it's going to hurt, but he knows that he can handle it. And I really, really admire the way that he approaches this stuff. I think some of the athletes that I've spoken to, at least because who I'm interested in, they tend to be the ones that are deeply unsure and still succeeded in spite of that. So the kind of Phelpsian, Floyd Mayweather, Michael Jordan, I am the best of all time thing, I haven't been exposed to as many of those people. But Ross is one of these guys who you just put, I mean, he did a triathlon with a tree. He called it the triathlon. He's got the longest ever single distance river swim that he did in Canada. And it was like 300 miles without touching land, without stopping. It was 50 hours. He swam for over 2 days without stopping. It was unbelievable, dude. It's absolutely insane. And wow. Yeah, it's crazy. But he's driven by just a desire to see what he can do. Like he's like an explorer, but he's an explorer of himself. He's an explorer of his own limits. I think that's a really cool approach.